TG Geeks, episode 318, March 22nd, 2021. Finding oneself and getting it. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comic, films, horror, what am I saying? I don't know. You name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane. We're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you from a very congested head here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's the allergies.
As always.
Well,
this time of year.
Well, the weather's gotten nice again.
And we're recording this on the Verna equinox.
Your grandmother has something to do with this?
Yes, she did.
Wow. Talk about force of nature.
Yeah, she was. Let's get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we have got Tom Hurd, who is an actor filmmaker, and he's here to talk about his new film, Getting It. And we've got our birthday shout-outs, featured podcast of the week. We got a little bit of feedback, our regular shout-outs, something in the second segment, and regular end-of-the-show stuff. Recap and shout out. So let's get on with this show. And this time we welcome to our show Tom Hurd. He's an actor, filmmaker, and he's here to tell us about his brand new film. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very excited.
Cool. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? Give us the elevator pitch of your life to this point, as if you're going to the top of the Empire State Building. So that gives you a little more room.
Okay.
And we need to time that sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
You realize the next time we go to New York, we actually have to time how long it takes to get to the top.
Exactly.
So we can say,
so we can know.
give the elevator pitch in X number of minutes.
45 minutes. Oh, no.
My God.
Exactly. It's a really slow elevator. I actually went when I was 12, but I don't remember how long it took to get to the top. But and I've always been so bad at encapsulating things and elevator pitches. I never did develop one for Getting It. I kept trying to do that, and I kept wanting to go off in different directions and trying to describe it and explain things. But I actually was born in Long Beach, California, but my whole family's from Texas, and I grew up in Austin. And I've been acting since I was 9 years old. I did my first play was Oliver at the Zilker Hillside Musical here in Austin, and I got the bug immediately. And did a lot of civic theater growing up here in Austin, as well as high school plays. And as soon as I graduated, I just started doing summer stock and doing regional theater and theater all over the country. I lived in Chicago. I did theater there. I did 7 plays in 2 years, and
wow.
And little by little, I was dabbling in films and doing small parts. And then I was living in L.A., and I got so lucky. I just had a group of friends, writers and actors and producers, and we just had game nights all the time. And one of the guys in the group was going to be a producer for this film called True Rights. And being a good friend to all of his actor friends, he said, we'll get you all auditions. You can audition for cab driver number 1 or, cop number 2 or whatever. And so we were like, yes, great. Yeah, love it. And we'll take anything, because none of us were working at the time. And so,
well, weren't working in the film industry anyway.
Yeah, at the time, what they did, this is still in the facsimile days, and they would fax the sides over, the audition scenes. And what they did was just send the lead role, so that there would be a lot of dialogue, and then they would watch you and listen to you and see where they thought you might fit in somewhere else in the movie. And so they sent the lead role to me, and when I read it, I was like, I want this role. And so it was just, it felt like a fit for me, and I felt like I knew this guy. And so I got really lucky, and the casting director and director thought the same thing, and got my first lead role in the feature film. And,
nice.
That was, it was very exciting. And so then I started wanting to do more film. I used to think that I wanted to do TV at first, because I thought feature films just seems too esoteric, too loosey-goosey. I want the constraints and parameters of a television set, like a television, the scenes and everything in TV seems like, okay, look, you're in the living room. I know what to do in the living room. And it felt conventional, but I was wrong. The acting in a feature film with everything, just, the endless possibilities, it was thrilling. And so I started doing that a little bit, and I did get on Friday Night Lights. I played an ER doctor, and we shot my scene. I played the doctor, and we were in the actual hospital. And what I had originally thought that I would like about TV, I kind of didn't. It was very constrained and you hit this mark and you hit that mark, and you're going to walk down this hallway and you're going to hit that mark. And I love doing it, and I want to do more, but the freedom in film is definitely something that I had a better feel for. So that's it. I started doing more film, and then a few years ago, I wanted to try my hand at making my own film. I have friends who always encouraged me in any little writing I did, and they said, you really should try a bigger project. And with their encouragement, they helped me believe I should at least try it. And I wanted to write a film, an LGBTQ film, where the story wasn't, I love coming of age stories, and I love coming out stories, and I think they're important, and I think they've helped a lot, and they can be very entertaining. But I wanted to make my movie, I wanted it to be just about two gay men, and where the story isn't about their being gay. It's not like they're having to deal with prejudice or trying to come out to family or friends, and the tension and the difficulties that can sometimes be there.
Right.
I just wanted it to be about, I just wanted a love story where the two people just happened to be gay, two gay men.
That's interesting. Because
and at the time when I wrote it, there really hadn't been a whole lot of that yet. There's been a lot more since, but I wrote this, several years ago, and it took me a while, being a first-time filmmaker, to actually raise the money and to, coordinate it and pull the production together. So, that's what I did. And I confess that as an actor, I was auditioning for things. I was like, nobody's writing the kind of role that I really want to play. And so I said, I guess I'll have to write it.
Write your own.
Yeah. So, and I had no idea if I could do it. And I knew what I wanted to write as an actor, a role that I wanted to play. But then I had to write all these other characters. And luckily, being an actor, I know what actors like to play. And so I was able to attract some really solid actors who loved their parts and were willing to share their talent with me for very, very little. At this level, there's just so little money.
Right.
And I don't know how I got so lucky, but I did. And I was just blessed with these amazingly talented actors who brought it and just gave me such great performances.
Well, you could say they were really getting it, huh?
They did, and they did, and then I got it. I received a great gift from all these people.
Well, that is an interesting concept about the film, and we're seeing more of that today. And it's amazing how the tide has turned and how society has changed, where we can now make films where the actors and the characters are gay, and you don't have to worry about that. We don't have to deal with the prejudice or the coming out or the angst or any of that stuff. It's just
you're just making a relationship film.
Exactly. And that is so refreshing these days. We've talked to a number of filmmakers in the last couple of years that are doing that, and it's wonderful to see. Now, granted, we had to go through that growing process of, so
definitely.
people could see us and how we've had to live and how the struggles that we had to come out. But I think as it is now, and I think it's still important to see those films and make those
Definitely.
films. But to just have a film where we're just us is great. So tell us what is this film about? And it's called Getting It, correct?
It's called Getting It, and it's about so I play a character who is he's been through a bad breakup. His boyfriend of 4 or 5 years has dumped him about a year before the movie begins, and I am struggling, and I'm very angry and bitter and defensive about the breakup, and I've gone into myself, and I've shut out the world. In the film, I play a singer. And I had a cabaret act with my boyfriend, and he was my pianist. And we have this, he dumps me in the middle of a performance. And it's like between sets, and I catch him with another guy, and I freak out and try to go back on stage. This is all backstory. This is actually not in the film. But because it happens before the movie starts. But when I go back on stage, I choke, I freeze up, and the audience laughs at me. And it's such a bad experience that my character, Jamie, swears off singing in public ever again. Plus, he's mad. He's taking his ball and going home, and he's not going to share with the world anymore. So that's where I am. And then my best friend, Elaine, played by Sharon Bauer, amazing actress, she's asking me to sing at her wedding because I promised I would years before this. And I say, Elaine, I can't do that. I'm not performing in public anymore. And she's like, I'm your best friend. Why can't you do this for me? And you said you would. And she, she's always dealt with my character being selfish, right, which was something that was kind of unbeknownst to me. And so when I tell her for the third or fourth time, no, I just can't do it, she goes, well, I understand. You don't really go out of your way for people, anyway. So Jamie doesn't like to do that. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? She goes, well, that's why Patrick, my ex-boyfriend, she goes, that's why he left you. And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, he got tired of coming in second. And I said, excuse me? She goes, Jamie, when's the last time you ever put anyone first? And I said, and I'm completely blindsided, and I can't think of a time that I did. And so instead of listening to her and trying to hear what she's saying, my character gets very, very defensive. And so I go confront my ex-boyfriend, and he backs her up completely. He goes, "Of course, you never, would do anything for me if I asked you." And so now I'm really, really mad. And as it happens, I have a next door neighbor, a guy who's a few years younger than I am, who also a year before the movie starts has lost his mother to a long illness. And he feels responsible because he was taking care of her, and she had cancer, and there's nothing he could do. But he still feels he's so devastated, and he's somebody who just takes the pain of the world onto himself. He's a very sensitive character, and so he's blaming himself, and so is his brother, who he's staying with, and that's not helping matters. So he has gone into himself as well. So we're two men who have shut out the world, and he's living right next door to me. And what I do in the movie is, because I don't sing in public anymore, I sing for myself. And I'm singing in my living room, and he can hear through the walls when I'm singing. And when my ex-boyfriend agrees with my best friend and says that I'm incredibly selfish and ungiving person, I go home and I sing for myself this really angry, sad, bitter song. And my next door neighbor, who's only ever before that heard me singing like show tunes and stuff like that, and things I'm, just kind of like this, fluffy, kind of a light guy, hears a lot of pain and anger in my voice, and he becomes intrigued. And but he also hears that I'm a writer, because that's my day job. I'm a writer, and so he uses that as a reason to come over and talk to me, whereas he hasn't talked to anyone else other than his brother and his sister-in-law, who he's living with, in a year.
Wow.
And so he comes over and talks to me, but he really wants to find out more about me. But he's a poet, and he knows I write for a weekly entertainment magazine. And so he broaches the subject of, do you think they'd be interested in like a weekly Poets Corner or something like that? And I'm like, well, that's interesting. But meanwhile, I've seen him in passing around our apartment complex, and he's very morose and down in the mouth. And I'm like, I don't find him very interesting. So even after this meeting, I'm like, I'll ask my best friend, and that's my best friend who's also my editor at the weekly newspaper I work for, and I'll ask her if she's interested. I can't make any promises, and so that's how we meet. And then
in the meantime, you have skipped over the part that he's a very good-looking man.
Yeah, well,
yes,
this is a movie, so I think it's kind of given.
Yeah, he is very handsome, but despite that, I don't take him seriously because he is a few years younger, and I don't think he's he's fully cooked. I don't think he's and I'm a bit, my character, in addition to being selfish, everything is a bit of a snob. Okay, well, I don't want to give too much away, but so yeah, he doesn't take him seriously at first, but when his sister-in-law, who he's living with, hears that from me that the character's name is Ben, another Ben, comes over and has talked to me, she's thrilled. She's like, he hasn't talked to anybody in a year, and she asked me then, since he's reached out to you, would you consider, his mom died and he's been very, very sad, would you consider spending some time with him? And my character, again, being so selfish and not interested in this guy, and I don't see anything, I can get out of it, I just immediately go into my immediate response of, I'm so sorry. My schedule's so crazy right now, and I just don't think I have the time. I'm so sorry. And she goes, I understand. And she starts to walk away. And then I remember what I've just heard from my best friend and my ex-boyfriend about how selfish I am. And not because I believe them, but to prove them wrong, I stop her and I say, Alicia, I will. I'll do that. Just so that I can say to my best friend, look what I'm doing. I'm going out of my way for this guy, just to be nice, just to help him out. Being purely selfish. It's all for my own selfish reasons, which is just so terrible. And so, I say to Alicia, I don't know what we'll do. I doubt that we have much in common. And she says, well, yeah, I know he likes camping. I'm like, yeah, next. And because Jamie doesn't like roughing it. But anyway, so after yet another moment with my best friend where she's basically just begging me to sing at her wedding, and again I'm saying I just can't. She really lowers the boom on me, and she's just really letting me have it, and I'm so angry and hurt. So the next time I see Ben, I have good news for him because Elaine is interested in his poetry idea. But I then kind of begrudgingly, say to him, so, Ben, you like camping? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, you want to go sometime? Because I'm determined to follow through on this plan to be unselfish and to try to kind of help him out. But I'm still just really not looking forward to it. But so we set out, to spend a weekend to go camping, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to see this through. I'm just really not thrilled about it, but I need to do this so that I can prove to everyone that I'm not selfish. So we begin our little trip, and we get to. Unfortunately, we can't get a campground the first night because I hadn't booked one in time. So our characters stay in a motel room the first night, and then by this point we had a few more meetings and scenes together before this. And little by little, he's continuing to reach out to me, and he has interpreted this invitation to go camping as a prelude, an overture to something more. And so, our first night in the motel room, he makes a move, which completely blindsides Jamie. He's like, totally didn't see this coming. He doesn't think they're a match for several reasons. There's some age difference, and he also just, he doesn't think that Ben is a fully evolved person. And so when Ben makes a pass at him, he completely deflects it and says, hey, take it easy. We're just going to go have a good time, something like that. So Ben is like, he's totally seeing through me. He sees that there's something between us that I don't see yet. He's smarter than I am, and he's much more. He's just a much more giving and outgoing person than I am. But this trip is changing him, because before this he's very morose and very down in the mouth. He's excited to be doing something with somebody that he finds interesting.
Right.
So he's already on the road back from where he was, and so we start this trip. And little things happen, little one thing after another. He keeps trying to coax Jamie out of himself, and little by little, it starts to work. Wow. And we start having these adventures and these moments, and he's just very fun and lovable. And little by little, he is de-Scrooging Jamie. He's making Jamie's losing his bah humbug attitude, and I start to fall for him. And we have this when we go camping, and we have this campfire scene, and Ben completely opens up to Jamie and about his mom and everything that they went through. And it really affects Jamie and moves him, and he starts to feel something for Ben, and they begin a relationship. And so they come back from their trip, and they're back and they're at the apartment complex, and they've begun to see each other, but Jamie still has not changed, even though he likes Ben and is interested and is now like interested in seeing him. He's still the same guy. Yeah. Nothing has really changed yet, and I should probably stop there because I don't want to
give it all away.
No, we want people to see this.
In other words, they live happily ever after, and he sings it at the wedding.
Well, we don't want to know that either. I mean, spoilers, please.
Well, it's just very soon after they get back, issues come up, challenges that will test both of them. And Jamie finally has to confront once and for all and see himself for who he is. And the question is whether he's going to be able to do something about it or not. Whether he's going to rise to the occasion, or if he's going to fall back on his old habits. And as we all know, it's very difficult to change.
Right.
It's very difficult to really. You can see fault in yourself, and sometimes you're too lazy to change it, or you don't see the purpose of changing it. It's whether or not Jamie sees a purpose in changing, and whether he's willing to make changes to do that.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Is this movie's not out yet, or is it out? Or
oh no, it is out, and it is streaming on many major platforms. It's on Amazon, and it's on iTunes and Google Play, Fandango, Vudu. It's on Vimeo. It's on YouTube. And it's also on DVD. If you go to, it's my distributor's Breaking Glass Pictures. Does a lot of LGBTQ film, and on their website is all those platforms that it's available on, as well as DVD, which has a few extras on it as well. So it is officially out there.
Cool. So now, if people. I would recommend people check this out because this looks like a really interesting film, and based on the trailer that we've seen, it looks very engaging. So, if people want to learn more about you and follow you, do you have any social media presence personally that people can follow your work on?
Absolutely. Because of this film coming out, my distributor wanted me to, really engage in social media, which I hadn't really done so much before. And now I'm fascinated by it. That's how I met you, through Twitter, and I'm really having a good time and having a lot of fun. On Twitter, I am at Actor Guy, and actor spelled with a K because, of course, C was already taken. But I kind of like it anyway. It's different. Anyway, so it's at Actor Guy on Twitter. On Instagram, I'm at Atomic Tom. Of course, I really wanted Atomic. But of course, that was taken. There's so many people out there. They beat you to it. But I've kind of grown to like Atomic Tom. So, and I'm on Facebook too. Only I don't really know. I've never known how to tell somebody how to find me on Facebook. But definitely Twitter and Instagram. That's how you can find me. And So I love hearing from people, and I love it when somebody follows me and I follow them right back, and build that network and that that base for meeting new people and exchanging ideas and making things possible. Making things happen like this. It's very exciting.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show and telling us about your film.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's been a real pleasure.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the Two Gay Geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
Well, that was a very interesting interview. And
Quite.
We've got our usual birthdays this week. Here's a few selected
As opposed
birthdays.
to unbirthday birthdays?
Yes, happy unbirthday to you. A few selected birthdays from March 22nd through March 28th, as I wrote. 2021, March 22nd, Tyler Oakley, out activist and YouTuber. Many subscribers on most of social media. Oh my gosh, he's got several million subscribers all across social media.
Okay, obviously we're doing something wrong then.
Exactly. He advocates for LGBTQ social issues, including suicide prevention among the LGBTQ community via fundraising for the Trevor Project. He interned with them a number of years ago and was quite active in raising money for them because he had struggled in his own life with suicide ideation and other things and came out on the other side. So he's a big proponent for that.
That's good.
Then we have Marcel Marceau, French mime and actor, silent movie fame, the only dialogue in
The only person who
Mel
spoke
Brooks' silent movie.
The only person who had a line. Go figure.
Yep. And, of course, I have to tell the story of my sister and I and my mother in the J.C. Penney elevator that was the size of a small refrigerator box.
Right.
That you could cram. It was the elevator operator and my sister, my mother, and me. And I probably was maybe 4, and Lynn was 3. And there was this other lady in there, and of course, she had all kinds of pancake makeup, and I, in a child's whisper, said, "Mom, she looks like Marcel Marceau."
And of course, a childlike whisper is how many decibels?
Exactly. And then we have Nathan Rosen, American-Israeli physicist, worked with Einstein and Boris Podolsky on entangled wave functions. The Einstein-Rosen bridge is named after him, which is later known as a wormhole. His theory was put forward in 1935. Mm-hmm. So fascinating, interesting reading. I took a detour and went down that rabbit hole and read about all of that. And we have Charles Pfizer, founder of Pfizer Pharmaceutical in 1849 in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I say that because we got the Pfizer vaccine last week.
That's right.
March 23rd, Robert Gallo, not of the famed wine family, but his claim to fame is a physician and biomedical researcher, best known for his discovery in 1984 of the human immunodeficiency virus as the infectious agent responsible for AIDS and the development of the HIV blood test. And then we have Betty Nesmith Graham, mother of Michael Nesmith and inventor of liquid paper. Yes. And Ugo Canazzi, Italian actor, most known for his role as Renato Baldi, the nightclub owner in La Cage aux Folles, the original.
Oh, my.
Yes, and was also known as a gourmet chef in Italy. And then we have Facebook friends, Jim Miller, Andrew Godot, and Jen McClary Allen. March 24th, Jim Parsons, out gay actor, Big Bang Theory as Sheldon, took piano lessons for 14 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Who knows whether he's any good or not, but he took lessons for 14 years.
Yeah,
I've never heard him play or heard that he did play.
Yeah, I mean, maybe after 14 years, his teacher's like, you got to stop.
Yeah. And when he married his partner, Todd, and I'm going to butcher this name, Spivak, in 2017, they had been together for 14 years at that
Wonderful.
time. It's amazing. Edward Weston, photographer, has been called one of the most innovative and influential American photographers after Ansel Adams. We saw some of his work that toured the Phoenix Art Museum, along with some of Ansel Adams. He used an 8x10 large format camera, view camera, and I have a 4x5, which is half the size, and they turn out fabulous
Yes,
photos.
they do.
And did a lot of work in California developing his style, and went to Mexico to further develop his art. Some of his photos it's a typically Western and California-esque look to his photos, all up and down the coast of California and Mexico. And some of the pieces that he has been sold are some of the most expensive photos ever.
Indeed.
Yep. And then we have Ube Iwerks, animator, and then one of the first, dare I say, Imagineers.
Yes.
He started out with Disney and left several times, and then once he finally came back, one of the first things, he developed the multiplane process.
Right.
He didn't develop the camera because it was already in development and had been built for Disney, but he developed the process where they could take the
different cells,
and move them around. Designed a multiplane camera with using movable layers. That's what it was in 1933. Sorry, got confused there because I put this stuff all out of order here. I apologize. One of the first things that he did with Disney was single-handedly animated Plane Crazy in 2 weeks.
Oh,
so
my
over
goodness.
700 cells a day.
That is
700 pieces of art.
There's a lot
day.
going on in Plane Crazy. I don't know
was
if
the
anybody
very
else has
first
seen
Mickey
it.
Mouse film.
Yeah, it was the very first one. It precedes Steamboat Willie.
Yep.
And it's a very busy piece of work.
Yep. And then he became the technology man for Disney after he came back in 33, 32, something like that. Then we have Facebook friend James Spring and Travis Osland. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
March 25th, Elton John, singer-songwriter, out gay man, married his partner in 2014, and was huge in the 70s through the 90s
Massive.
and beyond.
Still huge.
Still huge, but I mean, that was really where he was touring and releasing an album, every couple of months practically, and all this kind of stuff.
And then what a songwriter.
Oh my God, yeah. With Bernie Taupin.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie came up with the greatest lyrics, but the music that Elton was able to compose,
reinvented himself multiple times,
because in the early days it was these big sprawling epic type songs, and then he just over time just evolved into creating what became like the best radio-friendly hits you could imagine.
Exactly. He performed with many, many top singers and performers of all kinds. And in 1992, he decided to give the proceeds from all of his singles to AIDS charities and formed the Elton John AIDS Foundation. Mm-hmm. He was a very close friend of Freddie Mercury.
Yes, they were very, very close, and he was one of the last people to see Freddie alive.
Yeah, and he was one of the first people to know that Freddie had been diagnosed.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of that
outside of the band.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with Elton's friendship with Ryan White.
Yeah, and he struggled with drugs and alcohol himself, and said that his guilty pleasure is, wait for it,
I can only imagine,
shredding paper.
Really? Well. Okay.
Amazing.
Well, if it works for you, then it works for you.
Exactly.
I know. Who am I to judge?
Better than drinking and drugging, though.
It certainly is. And the man, ever since he went into sobriety, he has kept it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I applaud him for that.
Then we have Lee Pace, who has been in Guardians of the Galaxy, Thranduil in The Hobbit, and he identifies as a queer actor. And born in Chickasha, Oklahoma.
Really?
Southwest of Oklahoma City. And was roommates with Anthony Mackie at Juilliard.
Go figure.
Amazing. Patrick Troughton, actor.
Oh, God.
Jason and the Argonauts, the 1962 Phantom of the Opera, 1970 Scars of Dracula with Christopher Lee, and a little thing called Doctor Who. He was the Tooth Doctor.
Oh, please.
And another Doctor Who actor that the Americans killed, quote unquote.
Oh, that's harsh.
Well, it's
Oh
true.
my God, that's harsh.
Well, he died from a heart attack.
Yeah, it was at a convention in Atlanta, but I would hardly. I don't want to think of as the Americans were responsible for killing him. Oh my God, that's ow.
Well, there was two.
God, that's so stiff.
Anyway, and then we have March 22nd, Leonard Nimoy, actor Spock, the only actor to ever play in every episode of the original series, including the pilot.
That would be correct.
Yep. Sandra Day O'Connor, retired Supreme. She was the first woman nominated to the Supreme Court of the U.S. Retired to take care of her husband in 2013, I think. She's 90 years old, still kicking.
And from Arizona, I think.
From Arizona, she was, she was born in Wisconsin, but lived most of her life in Arizona, was part of the Arizona Senate, Arizona Court of Appeals, I think, or District Court, and then Court of Appeals. And
Arizona's her adopted home.
Exactly. Then we have Robert Frost, American poet, typically New England settings, poet laureate, shall we say. Then we have Facebook friend Angela Joseph and Chuck Tomasi.
Mr. Technorama.
Mr. Technorama himself. March 27th, Quentin Tarantino, director, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bills.
Yes.
There are so many quirks to his movies that he uses over and over and over again.
The man's a film geek.
Yep.
And that's what I love about his work.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
when we finally saw, oh my God, what was it? Wasn't Reservoir Dogs?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
Oh my God.
Holy smokes. We loved it.
It was a crazy film.
And that whole dialogue about a Big Mac.
I know. And that's one of the quirks of his films is every film features a scene in a restaurant. It's amazing.
I got to think about all of a sudden I'm trying to, is there such a scene in Kill Bill?
I'm sure, but I can't.
I guess we have to watch it now.
Yeah, exactly. And one of his
actually it does. Yes, there is. It's a Japanese restaurant.
Yep.
And
yeah.
And that's where the kid then goes into this big killing spree. So
right.
Okay, so it follows.
Yep. And one of his first jobs, I'm not going to tell you the second job, but one of his first jobs was collecting quarters and restocking magazine boxes that dispensed porn.
And yet, I'm not surprised.
Exactly. He actually now owns the New Beverly Cinema, at least as of the trivia on IMDb. He originally helped the owner to keep it afloat because he saw movies there as a kid. He gave the owner like $5,000 a month to keep it going.
Wow.
And then eventually bought the building itself to save it from being redeveloped into a Supercuts.
You know what? Good for him. I'm glad he's doing that.
And what he does at the New Beverly Cinema, he now programs kids matinees, double features most weekends, and vintage shorts and cartoons, and there's a commitment to show films on 35mm stock.
Like I said, the man is a film nerd, and that's what I really love about the guy.
Yep. Nathan Fillion, actor, Firefly and Serenity, among others, avid comic book collector, and says that Firefly was one of the best experiences he's ever had.
Yeah, but everybody on that cast, I think, would say the same thing.
Yep. Gloria Swanson, actress.
I expected to hear something in the middle of that.
Yes.
Gloria Swanson.
Exactly. She started out in 1915.
Yeah, she was a silent siren.
Yep. Became quite the box office attraction after signing a contract with Cecil B. DeMille. She actually did work for DeMille.
Of course she did.
She collected husbands. She had like 8. Sadly, her character Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard has an eerie resemblance to her career and the people surrounding her career.
We knew that already based on just when we watched Sunset Boulevard because it's such a fascinating movie.
Oh, I love that film. It's so creepy.
It's really disturbing.
And the way she looks sideways. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
Yes.
She died in 1983 at the age of 84. And from the time of her Oscar-nominated performance as Norma Desmond, it was like 1950 is when that film came out, I
Something
think.
like that, yeah.
She liked to remind everyone that she was not Norma Desmond. She just played her.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. And then we have Austin Pendleton. He's that guy.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. He really is his character in Christmas with the Cranks. Everyone knows him, but what the heck is his name?
I know.
Who is he? What has he done? He's been in everything.
He's been in everything, yet nobody knows his name.
Exactly.
I know. He's
149 acting credits. He's been in everything.
Including Finding Nemo.
Yes, he was a gurgle.
Yeah.
My bubbles.
Yes. No, he didn't do the bubbles, but was that him?
I think so, yes. No. Well, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think it was the Bubbles guy, but he is in there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
And then we have Facebook friend Scott Bubshay. March 28th, Lady Gaga.
Love her.
Actress, singer, was in A Star is Born, has continually reinvented herself.
Yes.
Fashion, songwriting, everything.
She is like today's gay icon for pop music.
And her name is an homage to Radio Gaga by Queen.
Oh, I love her even more now.
Yep. And is a martial arts you could say enthusiast. She practices all kinds of different martial arts for training.
Well,
I'm sure.
it explains how she can be so dexterous when she's performing in these outrageous costumes on stage.
Exactly. And then we have Diane Wiest, actress, has one of the greatest lines in The Birdcage. Someone has to like me the best. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We always want to give a shout out to the Joshua Tree Feeding Program, 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV/AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They set it up like a store so that folks can come in and do their own shopping for the food that they want, and it empowers them to take only what they want, so no food is wasted. Please consider supporting Joshua Tree through a monthly recurring gift or a single gift. Go to jtfp.org.
And it's time for our feedback, and each of the items that generated this feedback will be featured in the show notes for this episode at number TG Geeks, episode 318. Starting off, regarding Andrea's angle for a sci-fi romance, Bliss is surreal yet beautiful. Got a comment from Yancey Charles. He used to go by the name of Yans on Facebook. He says, I would want to watch this, but in all honesty, I'm only 18 months sober. Movie scenes with people using drugs or drinking in a drug-induced haze or acting high still sometimes trigger me. I'll probably find a fellow geek in recovery to come over and watch it with me just in case I get a little nutsoid. And I did write back to him and said, Yancey, I totally support you where you're at, and that's totally cool. I get you.
Absolutely.
And then moving on regarding TG Geeks episode number 311, and this is really brief, got a comment from Lenore Swislow. It was her birthday. She says, thank you. And in that interview, we interviewed Katie Edwards again in that episode, and got a comment from Hamish Downey saying, I'm really looking forward to the new installment. And he's referring to book 3 of the Terror sequence, The Hourglass Throne. And that is our feedback for today.
You and us as well.
Well, yeah.
As well as the rest of the world. Waiting. Hear that?
Yes, with bating breath.
Hear that? You can leave a comment on our Facebook page or at tggeeks.com on each article or episode. You can also call our listener line at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. As everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent creators, filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, others. Please support independent creators by visiting their places that they have their stuff, buy their stuff, tell other people about their stuff, chat them up. Please consider supporting independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Well, it's time for the second segment. Really quickly.
Very
Justice
quickly.
League. Snyder Cut.
Very interesting, way too long.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that. Other people are saying that they liked the length. I liked the length. I really did. For me, it was just right. From an artistic standpoint, my only complaint is that it was in 4:3 aspect ratio and not 16:9.
Yeah, I just got lost, though, you know. So
yeah, I think
just because of the length. I mean, not being a comic book geek. So.
Yeah, I think Zack Snyder made this movie specifically for comic book nerds.
Yeah.
It's not like what Marvel did. They can make their movies out to look more accepting for other people.
Yep.
This one is really, I think, comic book nerds were just really looking at this one.
Well, they did explain a lot, which was fine, but I mean, it was like sensory overload. Too many things. That's why the length was hard for me. Is there was just too much thrown at me all at once.
Interesting.
But you do have an article about
yes, I do have a review, and
so
we'll
talk about that momentarily.
Yes. And this is our weekly review of all the things we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. And the links for each of these articles will be in the show notes for this episode number 318 at tggeeks.com. Starting with Sunday, March 14th, Nerdy Chupacabras number 39. On Monday the 15th, TG Geeks episode number 317. On Tuesday the 16th, Ben's Breakdown, Superman and Lois, Season 1, 3-episode thoughts. On Wednesday the 17th, HBO's The Last Cruise debuts March 30th. On Thursday the 18th, Andrea's Angle, The Courier, Suspenseful History, Brilliant Acting. On Friday the 19th, Hamish Downey's 5 Questions with Lee Campbell. And on Saturday the 20th, Ben's Breakdown, Zack Snyder's Justice League finally does justice.
And I have to say, if you're not reading or you're not going to the website on Sundays, please do and take a look at Nerdy Chupacabras. Tommy Cannon does a great job. It's bizarre humor. So go take a look at it.
Have a couple of shout-outs that we need to make. First, to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News is put up by the human Arkle. You can find him, as well as the Dispatch News, by going to Twitter and searching for Arkle, at ARKLE. And while you're doing that, look for his Arkle Studios on YouTube. He has a number of his projects there, his Shameless Cash Grab series, his Rants vs. Zombies series, which has officially ended, but you can always still listen to past episodes, as well as his game videos of Trick and Treat and Star Trek Online.
And I have to say, thanks, Arkle, for being such a loyal follower.
Oh, yeah, from day one.
From day one.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate that. We also need to give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. When I asked their moderators if I could share content there, they said, please share away. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share our stuff there. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. And as always, we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we can also be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio at 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays. Listen to their other content. They're a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things that we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, as well as you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay home, stay safe, get vaccinated, stay sane. Peace.
Cheers.